Welcome back to Cheyenne, Wyoming Urban Gardener. This is part 2 of the updated garden tour of what's going on. It is June 25th, Saturday, and just going through the garden and showing you what all I have continued to plant and what's coming up. Collard greens are all beginning to come up now. We just planted those about 3 or 4 days ago, and you can see all the greenery through there. There is a long row of collards. We do enjoy collards here. Mixed in with some mustard greens and things like that, and kale. So we've got all of those things are planted in just different sections, and we just continue to find more space and continue to plant. It's a little bit too late to start planting squash and cucumbers and things like that unless you've got a really short season variety. So I am continuing to plant some shorter season variety cucumbers and things, but for the most part it's just brassicas at this point, or lettuces, things that'll get ready pretty quickly. I have continued to plant beets because I have had beets over winter here. So we continue to have beets up until very late into the winter, which is kind of unusual for Wyoming. You would think that we wouldn't have anything really make it through the winter here much. In fact, I don't have some of the strawberries make it through the winter at times. But the beets seem to do pretty well here. My celery still looking absolutely amazing. Definitely putting on some extra growth. Even the one up front that I thought was not going to make it definitely has some new growth on it. So all 15 of these so far have made it through the transplant and have really filled out. Now I did lose one pepper plant out of the, oh gosh, I think there's 18, or no, there's more than 18 here. Let's see, there's 23, I think. I did lose one in the very, very beginning, which was one of the tiny ones that I had, it's right there, had planted back in with my seed that had gotten all mixed up when they got turned over. I did lose one of those very early on, and then it looks like we're losing that pepper plant right there. I'm going to keep it in the ground. I think probably an ant did the same thing to it as it did to the tomatillo. That was the accident. So I think that's what happened to that plant. And you're going to lose, one or two in a season anyway. So really hate that I lost that one, but we are definitely getting some real growth on a lot of these pepper plants. Now we have the Better Bell 2 in here, as well as the Flavor Burst. And then we have the row of my seed, which is just a mixture of different things because it got turned over and all the tags fell out, and we have no idea which ones are which, but I guess we will find out. The cabbages that we picked up for I think it was $1.99 for a pack of those. We had 6 cabbages. They're all doing amazing. They're setting their heads now. And I forget the name of the variety of this particular type. It is an early season variety, and it also is a smaller head. So I think it's only supposed to get like 3 to 5 pounds, which is fine for us. We have a lot of our own cabbages that we had set out with our own cabbage seed. These are Fairy Round Dutch. They are beginning to catch up in size. You can kind of see a comparison here as to the other ones. A few of them are still smaller, but we do have some that are catching up to size. Broccoli and cauliflower have put on an amazing amount of growth in this last 2 weeks. I was still talking about last video how small they were, at least some of them, and they have definitely picked up a lot of growth. Some of them are even looking like they want to really spread into putting their heads on and things like that. And like I said, we did lose that one accidental tomatillo. Right there it is. It got cut off. Now I did plant a row right in between the cauliflower and the broccoli, just right through there, of lettuce, because lettuce does like shade anyway. And I also put some long-standing spinach in there because I've never had any issue growing spinach in the shade here either. So we've got a long row. Half of the row is spinach and half of the row is a 4 Seasons Red Marvel variety of lettuce, and I've actually planted quite a bit of that. I have enjoyed the flavor of it. It's very sweet, so I like that lettuce, quite enjoying it. And now you can see some of the sunflowers in here. These are mammoth sunflowers that I planted here, and I just waited until I could wait no longer, because I don't want these to get so huge that they shade out the cabbages and things like that. So they're growing a little bit slower. And then we do have some smaller varieties of sunflowers in some different areas on the very edge of the garden. And I'm probably going to plant some more sunflowers, smaller varieties, and different sections through here just to be as a backdrop for the smaller flowers that I have planted, the zinnias, the bachelor's buttons, things like that. Then as you can see, we've got all of those growing right now, all up in front. Red cabbages are still doing really good. I lost one at the very beginning of the season. Seems like it's kind of the theme. Here and there I've lost one of a particular plant, but I did lose one in that section right there. So you can still see this really small one starting to pick up growth, as well as that one, and that one, all picking up growth, but I did lose one in the very beginning right here. It kind of lingered for a while, and then it finally passed off. And I did lose one cabbage as well in this row right there. And still have plenty of cabbages, though. I actually have more than I've ever had out here, because I usually don't grow a huge amount of cabbages. So all of those doing really well. Now in front of these potatoes, these are the Yukon Gold, I put a row of mustard, and it's the Florida broadleaf, I believe it is, mustard through here. So that'll go with our collard greens. The Yukon Gold potatoes are very much up and thriving. Got one still kind of a little bit behind, but it'll catch up pretty soon. But they're all doing wonderful. See how much bigger they are than they have been in any of the previous videos. My Shin Kuroda carrots that I had planted in here to replace some of the ones that did not come up. This row was originally supposed to have been, I believe it was Danvers, and then, no, Parisian Oxhearts. So all of those came up. However, there was one section that we ran out of seed, so there was nothing planted through there. So I went ahead and filled in a little bit with some soil to make this a little bit wider, and then put some Shin Kuroda carrots. You can see that tag right up there. So those are all beginning to come up now. So we should have a variety of those as well. And they are a quite huge carrot, Japanese variety, and very, very sweet. So looking forward to that. And they're supposed to be very, very good with compact soil. I don't really have compacted soil in this area because this is loose soil that has been mounded up. So it's not really that bad, but that is actually a very deep bed. It's about 18 inches. If I stepped into that bed, it would almost come up to my knees. It is that tall. So anyway, we got the 2 beds this year rather than 1 like we had last season. And on the other bed there was Danvers and rainbow carrots, and the rainbow carrots did not come up very well this season, and I'm hearing a lot of people complaining about that. I just went to a garden gathering where we have like a little group that gathers called Oops, I Wet My Plants on Facebook, and sometimes we get together, and there was a lot of people complaining that they saw some of the same issues, that some of the rainbow carrots just were not coming up this season. So I went ahead and replaced those with the Shin Kuroda as well, and they are starting to come up. Now our lettuce back here, I've always planted lettuce in this area back in this section. I did plant some more of the red marvel, as I was saying, the Four Seasons red marvel. Back here it is just now starting to come up, so we've got all of that in there. And then this is a gourmet blend up here, and I'm probably going to go in and fill in a little bit with that because it just came up kind of spotty, and that was just because I didn't have a whole lot of seeds at that time. It was a pack that I had left over from last season. So I'm going to go in and fill this in with some more packs that I just had gotten. I hit some of the seed sales for clearance seeds just a couple days ago and picked up a bunch of packs of seeds then, and I'll probably go back and pick up whatever that I can that goes on clearance very shortly. Right here in this section, I planted a whole bunch of cilantro just to have a newer bunch of cilantro coming up, and this is a little bit more shaded area, so it should stay or keep from bolting so quickly. So I did plant right here in a round section just some cilantro in this little bitty piece of soil right there, and we'll see if those get up and going. I've already harvested my chives, but they're up to the point now that I could harvest them again, and that's only been about a week ago that I harvested them, and I could harvest them again already. and I actually cut them down within about an inch of the soil, and they're already looking like that again. Got some more chives coming up in here, and I may actually plant something in just the middle section, because I just basically put them in a little strip all the way around, so that way they would just kind of fill in on their own. But they're coming up so slowly, and that's the way chives are. So sometimes they're just really slow. So I've got some coming up right there, but then all of the sections still got to come up, and I think I'll put something in the middle just for the summer. This is the parsley, doing absolutely fantastic. We transplanted that from inside the house, so we kept it all winter and put it back outside for this season, because this is the parsley that I used to have in the main garden and had pulled it out. And this is some of the seed that was remaining from it. It's all doing wonderfully. I'm probably going to go in and put some more parsley seeds right along the edges all the way around, just to get that to fill in a little bit more. But this is the triple curl parsley. It is my favorite. That's what I use, and I enjoy it because there's just way more parsley to it than there is to, say, Italian parsley and things like that. Geraniums are starting to bloom again. They had bloomed and passed on, and now they're starting to bloom for the second time. And then we also filled in with some verbena all around this one, which should start blooming pretty shortly. So all of the geraniums looking wonderful, definitely filling out. Dill is ready to start blooming. Hibiscus, we have pulled so many flowers from, it's ridiculous, and we're saving those for hibiscus sugar. So we're going to just mix that up, and also for teas. So we just keep collecting the flowers off of those. Oregano, we had a whole bunch of oregano babies come up, so all of those have came up in there, and they'll start filling out. We've got some lemon balm that had came up and is filling out in this. Our garden sage that we transplanted out of the main garden into this pot, looking wonderful, getting pretty big, and I actually found some more and transplanted those in here as well. All of our thyme, lemon thyme, regular thyme in the pots, doing wonderful. In fact, this one was blooming. We still have our pots here that we have hung on the fence, just our hanging pots, and our basil is starting to come up. Again, this is another variety of basil that I have. It's a compact basil, so it's going to get pretty short and fill out really wide. So a lot of those have started to come up. And again, we have the spearmint as well, tarragon pot, which is right here. This is our watercress, and then we have the lady lavender over here, and then all of my rattlesnake pole beans back here in Kentucky Wonders, those all came up. They're really raggedy looking because they get pest damage over here against the fence, with the other side not being cleaned up, and again, that's someone else's property. All of our little delicata squash have came up. You can kind of see those in here, kind of scattered about, and they're starting to get their third leaves now, and they'll be pretty quickly to go. Now, we have no idea, because these came from natural grocers, so they're organic seed, but we have no idea if they are bush variety delicata or vine variety of delicata, because there's two different types. So we will find out when they get a little bit bigger. And also the seed that I got from Suburban Homesteaders, Wyoming / Arizona, the Boston marrows, the French pie pumpkins, the Geet Okassaman squash, and the Big Max pumpkins, they have finally all came up. So the Geet Okassaman, it did come up, but I'm not sure it's going to make it. So she did send me some more seeds. Thank you, Sandy, for those. And I will see if I can get those up and started pretty quickly, because otherwise we won't have enough of a season to get them in. But those are the Boston marrows there. They're getting huge, putting their 4th and 5th and 6th leaves on now. All of my pumpkins saved from the seed for this past 7 years, they are all up, and the white pumpkins as well, and they are really starting to get some size on them. This is always the best section for some reason for the pumpkins. They were up within a few days, and they have gotten big already. We've got more beets that we planted, gold beets here, Jupiter beets there, all in this section. They're all up, just really hard to see because we had a storm, and a lot of the juniper trees just decided to shed some of their needles. So they're all over the place. I don't want to try to get in here and rake because I'll just tear up everything. But beets doing wonderfully, really getting in there. We made another row for turnips right up here almost against the house. and they're just kind of tucked away behind the kale. We've got dinosaur kale in here that is coming up, and then we have this row of turnips. So we're going to go into a part 3, so we will see you in the part 3.